You're listening to the Art of Quantum Healing podcast with your host, Lisa Nadler. Each week we'll be welcoming divine souls who have overcome trauma, mental health addiction, and found next level abundance through mind, body, and soul connection. We will be going deep on one subject to teach and guide you. My mission is to help you high vibe, thrive with inner peace, passion, and purpose, all in the name of evolution.
Welcome to another episode of the Art of Quantum Healing. I'm really excited today because today I have the beautiful Elizabeth Kipp, and she's going to be going really deep on abuse recovery and chronic pain, which is something that so many people have. And I'm really thrilled to have you here. I'm just going to read a little bit about Elizabeth before I bring her on in. Elizabeth is a chronic pain specialist. She's yoga-informed addiction recovery coach, ancestral clearing practitioner, ooh, yummy, yoga and meditation teacher, and international best-selling author of The Way Through Chronic Pain, Tools to Reclaim Your Healing Power. She focuses on helping people realize the power of their inherent healing. Elizabeth healed from over 40 years of chronic pain, including anxiety, panic attacks, and 32 years of addiction to prescription opiate and benzodiazepine. If I say those right, you can correct me if I didn't. I'm not very good at those big medical words. Medication. She now works to help others achieve the same healing that she experienced directly from the work she teaches. Welcome, Elizabeth. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm so happy to have the opportunity to share with your listeners and to share with my listeners.
Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. It's so good when I do an interview, when I can really feel a path that someone has actually walked on. Because for me, I got absolutely addicted to Valium. It was the only way I could leave my house. I couldn't leave my house for like 2.5 months. And then I just got addicted to Valium. I was, half a pill in the morning, half a pill in the afternoon. And it ended up just crippling me. It really, really did. So tell us a little bit about your story, Elizabeth.
Sure. Thank you. I grew up in a household with a mother who was bipolar before they knew what bipolar was, and who had actually a chronic back pain and used alcohol because she didn't handle pills well at all. Yeah. And so there was no answer for her. So that was her. So that became a very erratic environment to live in, because I never knew how her mood was going to be in any given moment. And that right there sets up a person for chronic pain, that right there. So we'll just, before I go on with the story too much more, I'm going to give the audience a definition of chronic pain.
Beautiful.
Chronic pain is any pain that's felt, any pain, physical, mental, or emotional, spiritual, financial. It's all the same to the brain, sending the same signal, and it hurts. And chronic pain is any pain that's felt 15 days out of 30 for 3 months or more. The brain can't tell the difference between a broken bone and a broken heart. So it's all the same. And why is that important? Because chronic pain, so pain 15 days out of 30 for 3 months or more, when it becomes chronic, the brain changes.
Right.
We have a very plastic brain. It adapts to whatever information comes into its system. And in chronic pain, we get, and you'll recognize this because you were in it for a while, if you were having panic attacks like that, you were in it. Brain fog. I can't remember what I just did, 5 minutes ago. I used to be able to watch movies and the next day I could watch it again, and I didn't have any. I didn't have any. It was like watching it all over again, right? At one point.
Some ways it'd be really cool.
It was fun that way. That was the only good thing about it. But anyway, so brain fog, not remembering stuff, just chaos in the brain, and then a very heavy negative thinking habit. They're wrong, I hate whatever, or and then turning it inside. There's something wrong with what's wrong with me. I don't like me, that kind of thing. So that's what happens in chronic pain. That's why it's important. a fifth of the world suffers from it, according to the World Health Organization, and 25% of North America pre-COVID suffers from chronic pain across all socioeconomic measures, including age. So children, right? 25%.
Skyrocketed. Imagine what the figures would be now. Holy
COVID
shit,
has just
mental health is the epidemic. Absolutely.
It's just really thrown gasoline on that fire, like jet fuel on that whole fire. So I grew up with this kind of like hyper vigilant, I don't know what's going to happen next kind of thing, which is that's a problem right there for the nervous system. It sets up a certain conditioning in the nervous system. Then when I was 14, I fell off a horse and broke a low vertebra in my spine, that fifth lumbar, right above the hip, the sacrum, and it split in two, and the front part of it went forward, and the back ended up getting removed in surgery the first time I had surgery. And that bone slipped 80% into my pelvis and pulled the leg nerves with it. So doctors kind of look at me now, and I have had a bunch of surgery. I had 3 surgeries, structural surgeries, to try and fix that. They finally did on the 3rd surgery, and then I had a 4th surgery, which was a corrective surgery. And that was very painful, because I started the surgeries when I started the pain medicine.
Right.
And that was about 14 years after I had that accident. Originally, I had to have surgery. I mean, I kind of walked away from that accident. I was already a chronic pain person, so it takes a lot for us. I think anybody in the audience that has chronic pain will say this. We don't feel pain different, the same as other people. You have to kind of hit us with a Mack truck for us to notice.
You certainly did. Wow. That must have been excruciating for the body. Oh my goodness.
So it's a lot of stress on the body. And anyway, but I kind of handled that for 14 years. And then by the time I was 28, it was just the doctors are like, this is so unstable. We're not sure you're going to be able to walk if you don't get this fused. So they tried these fusion on my spine. Anyway, 4 surgeries later, they finally stabilized it. But here's the thing. Starting with that original injury, and then when I started seeing doctors, maybe about 14 years later, they all said to me, you will be in level 7 out of 10 pain 24/7 for the rest of your life. And you will be in a wheelchair when you're 40. And they never, and so they made this assumption that I wouldn't heal. Now that was based on their training and their knowledge, because they didn't have knowledge. They didn't have training in chronic pain, and they didn't have an answer. So instead of saying, we don't have an answer, they gave me this answer, right? And the thing is they never asked this question, why isn't Elizabeth healing?
Yeah.
They assumed,
Simple question, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they assumed I wouldn't. And that's a heck of an assumption to sit with. It closes off all the possibility for the patient. Now I have a science background, so I was able to spot the flaw in this argument. Now it took me a while I kept looking for an answer. I kept looking, because I like that science, these guys and this paradigm, they didn't want to handle it. I need to go somewhere else for my answer. And I just kept looking. And I'm not saying they didn't have anything to offer, because they did stabilize my spine. But in terms of handling the chronic pain, their answer was opiates and benzodiazepines, right? Let's numb it, and let's give her anti-anxiety medicine to just, bring down because I was so wired I already had this frequency going of this hypervigilance anyway. And then that happened. And it was just like, I was pretty wound up like a top,
And the other thing that happens is that you then start programming your mind to think, oh, well, I'm going to be in a wheelchair by 40. So, I'm not going to. And so that's what you start living with. When you start manifesting within your life, and it starts to happen. That's why so many people, when they get told, oh, you've got cancer and you've got 6 months to live, guess what happens? That story of that lady that decides, well, stuff it, I'm going to go and live in a monk and help kids, and all of a sudden her cancer goes away. You know what I mean? So it's like the things that
it's really important that we're very clear. When I sit in front of a healer, I'm very clear. I try to get very clear on their perspective. What model are they working under? What are the limitations of that model? And what can, within those limitations, what can they offer me? So that I'm very clear on when a doctor says to me, you will be, I'm like, okay, first of all, you're not a fortune teller. Second of all, you should bring in that's a statistic. It's a probability, right? It's not, it's probable that. It's not, it will be, it's probable that, right? And, yep. And then I have to say that my training in science and as a researcher really helped me tease out this part so that other people know I can bring this forward to other people, and they can sit in front of a healer and see this too. They can say, oh, I get it. I see that you're bringing me this, and then this healer is bringing me this. So I have like a functional doctor who helps me now on my and I have an acupuncturist, and that's the Chinese medicine model, which is different. And I have an ancestral clearing that I do, and I've got a yoga practice, and I've got all these different. I have a when COVID's not around and I can go to the gym. I have a physical a trainer that takes me through. Helps me even out all my muscles and stuff. So I have kind of a nice rounded but a program of people that help me. But each one of those brings something to the table and has their own limitation. And I just see, and it's not a judgment on them. It's just an observation that they can bring this to the table, but they can't bring this.
Yeah. And I think we all have like a specific genius that we are absolutely amazing at, and that is our sole purpose in life, to fulfill it and to offer it. And somebody else has it. We talked about this before. Everybody has. No one does the complete everything amazingly. It's a specialty that we have, and it's what we hold. When we make our soul contract, when we come down here. Okay, cool. Here we go. Not too sure why I decided to come down to this one at the moment, but here you go.
So very important to understand kind of the where's the healing happening? Right?
Good question.
The greatest healer is within. So doctors and other healthcare people, they can like set a bone and stitch up a wound, and massage and all the things they do, but they can't tell the body how to heal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We set the conditions for the healing.
Yeah.
The body's this miraculous healer. And I use that word intently. It's not just like this word I'm tossing in there. Yeah. Miraculous, because it's quite remarkable. So my thing is when I get in patient mode, I give 20% of the responsibility to my healing for my healing to the entire medical community.
Yeah.
And the other 80% is between me and God or source or whatever you want to call the creator energy.
Yeah.
So the medical community and all those experts, they help me step into, these are the conditions that you need to meet to let your body do the work it needs to do. And then I get out of the way and I do what they say, and I listen to my own inner wisdom and get out of the way and let the body heal.
Isn't it amazing that most people do it the other way around? They're so intent on doing exactly what the doctor says because that's the trained professional. But as you say, your body is your own healer. And I always say that we heal when we sleep. We heal when we're eating the right food. We heal when we're filling our body with the love. And it's so true. Your body actually knows what to do. You just need to listen to it. Would you agree with that?
I agree. And I just want to make sure that I'm not dissing doctors. What I'm trying to say is when I started out as a kid, it was like whenever anybody got hurt, the first thing that the adults in the area did was they rushed to the person. We'll give you a pill or a shot, or we'll do whatever to make the pain go away.
Yes.
So we get the message that we're at war with pain, number one. And number two, as soon as I got a sniffle, my mother would call the doctor, right? So it was like we're always turning that way. And the doctor would come in and bring medicine. I'd have to lie in bed. I had a lot of colds when I was a kid because I was drinking a lot of milk, and I don't process casein well, the base protein in milk. I can't digest it. So it was just filling up my system.
From childhood, you're a fluid.
Yeah. So, but anyway, and there was a lot of sugar in my diet. So those things were not helpful for me. But it was always like, oh, everybody's always looking to the doctor. And nobody, even my doctor, bless her heart, who was amazing, a pediatrician when I was a kid, she never told me that she never directed me back into the body. I think she understood it because she was quite a remarkable woman, but she never voiced it. And it wasn't until I went through all the stuff I went through and finally healed and got on the other side of it that I was like, oh, I completely took the model and turned it upside down. I had to, in order to affect my healing. I had to change it. Instead of like 80% to the doctor and 20% for me, I did the opposite.
So they can get that realization. What made you come to the realization that it was 80% of you?
Well, really, when the doctors when they started saying, you will be this way and you will be that way, that was a huge turning point for me, because it was either swallow that or see that there's a problem with that prognosis. And I saw there was a problem. And I realized in that moment, I had to empower myself to find the answer, because they didn't have the answer. And I'm not dissing the model. I'm just saying there's a shortcoming in the model. And I recognize that. And that's when I started turning that whole model up on its head and saying, oh, I have to take responsibility here for my healing between me and higher power. And then the medical.
Is that when you went into the inherent healing? Is that when you started to really delve into the new ways of I started talking to my body. I started doing meditations where I'm like, I started doing that. I had a lot of they took a lot of bone from the back of my hips to put in the back. I had 3 fusions, and each time they did a fusion, they took more bone from the back of my hip, and that was very painful. I had a lot of pain in the back of my hips for a long time. And I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what, something's got to give here. I'm just going to start talking to my body, because like this pain is just not changing, and it's not acceptable, and nobody knows what to do with it. And the pain medicine isn't working, and the anxiety medicine not helping, and none of it's. So I'm like, I'm going to try something different. And I sat in meditation, and I just talked to my hips, and I just said to them for 20 minutes every day, I said, I'm not going to hurt you anymore. Helpful.
I'm not going to hurt you anymore. And the reason that I even zeroed in on them was not only were they hurting. I had a yoga practice. I've been doing yoga for a long time, but I had a yoga practice back then, and I used to go to a teacher, and she had me lie on my belly one day and said, raise your leg up. And that's engaging the muscles that, hook into that part of the hip. And I was just, I can't even do it. It was so painful. Oh. I engaged the muscles, and it was so painful. I was like, I can't even do that. And I was so shocked. I laid there, and I thought, let's just not try and raise the muscle. Let's just try and tense them without raising the leg. And the same amount of pain was there. And I was like, okay, that's a lot. And then I tried something else. I said, why don't I just think about engaging the muscles and see what happened? I just was trying to back off and back off and back off, right? Exactly. And so all I did was think about engaging those muscles, and the same pain was there. And that's when I knew it wasn't in the hip, it was in the mind. Yeah. It was in the brain. This is an example of chronic pain being in the brain, and it's not about the hip. It's not about the back. It's not about the original injury. It's about the way the brain is processing the signal, because it's in chronic pain.
So the minute you say something, you get the signal goes straight to your brain, and it activates the pain threshold before you even.
That's what happened to me.
Power of the mind.
So I sat every day for 9 months. I sat down for 20 minutes every day, and I did this mantra to the back of the hips. I'm like, there's not going to be any more surgery, right? I'm not going to hurt you anymore. And I just said that over and over 20 minutes every day for 9 months. And at the end of 9 months, I remember bending over to deal with the cat liver one day, which was always incredibly painful. When I'd lean over and try and get up again, it would engage those hip muscles, and I would just go, and no pain.
Oh
there hasn't been pain there since, right? So I was just talking. I was doing body talk back then before I knew about tap, EFT tap, emotional freedom technique tap. I didn't know anything about that back then. I knew about meditation. I was a long time meditator, and I knew there was something to it. And I just kind of engaged my meditation practice in a very focused way. Even when I was on pain medicine, I still, even on all this medicine, that still worked. It was pretty amazing.
So do you think it was a mix of your body really trusting you again, as well as the neurological pathway reprogramming, as well as like the actual mind starting to allow the subconscious to let it happen without that trigger happening with the pain? Do you think it was all those sorts of things?
I think it was all those sorts of things. And you know, from the yogic perspective and an integrative medicine perspective, you know, you can't separate mind, body from spirit. So what you do to one, you do to all three. And I was addressing mind, body, and spirit actually in that meditation, not knowing I was consciously. It was not like I put it together like that. It's just what was happening.
So powerful.
Yeah. So I'm just, you know, I encourage people to, if they're in a place where, you know, the doctors really don't know what to do, and there's lots of us around that are like that, you know, love your body. I talk to my liver, you know. This is when I just happened to have just where we are in this time. I lost three friends, three people I knew really well, all passed away from different things like 2 weeks ago. And that's been a lot for me to process. Yeah. And so I've been, and I could feel it in my liver because that's emotion processes in there. And I feel it in my heart too, of course. But it's old grief up in here, so it's kind of, there's some ancestral stuff that's getting tapped and stuff. But I'm spending time talking to my liver, right, and just thanking it for processing all this stuff, right, because that's what it does, right, and my heart. I spend time talking to my heart. Thank you for, you know, and so lots of gratitude, right, for the body and the support that it gives us in every breath, right? Every breath we take supports everything else. So it really, this body talk really started as a gratitude practice for, even though I felt like I was so torn as a chronic pain person, and anybody here will relate to it that's been in chronic pain. It's like I didn't want to be in my body. I was mad at my body. I didn't trust my body. I was like, there were all these stories I had because I was in this pain all the time. And I really had to stop and soften to that, and soften that whole thing, and calm the negative inner critic. And then I went into a pain management program, and the doctor there, Dr. Peter Prescott, who wrote this book, Conquer Chronic Pain, an Innovative Mind-Body Approach, beautiful book. He's not with us anymore, but he left this book behind.
Oh, bless
he
him.
asked us, he said, what are you doing to contribute to your pain? Which I was like, what are you talking about? The pain's doing to me. I was like, how dare you? You know, I was like,
oh, what? Big question.
Was like, I know, it was like fighting words. I was like, what are you trying to get yourself killed in this room? It's a whole room full of us. And I'm like, you know,
people in here.
How dare you, you know? But what was cool was I realized, you know, he had a point, and I was like, you mean there's something I could be doing that's contributing? I'm doing it, you know? And so I learned, and that's why I wrote my book. I talk about it in my book. I wrote the things that I learned in my own journey, and then in this pain management program, and the things that helped it. Ancestral Clearing was another big piece.
Tell us about
Um,
ancestral clearing, because I mean, I know that a lot of stuff that obviously happens through past lives, through generation or even your childhood, really has a massive impact. But when you can go into and do a lot of ancestral clearing, because sometimes you're doing something right and you're like, hang on, I've unpeeled so many of the layers of what's going on right now. I've understand it from this perspective, I'm doing this with him now. What the hell's going on? And you've got that cord that's still connected to the ancestral. And then until you cut that cord, you're still going through some sort of, it's still playing out in your life. So talk more about that, because it is, I believe that ancestral clearing is such powerful. It's powerful work. It's powerful healing. It really, really is.
it's astonishing. As a scientist, I mean, I was sitting in the room and I felt I went through the process and I didn't know what was coming. I had no idea. I just did this process because he said do it, and I was like, okay. And I get halfway through it, I'm like, I felt the room shift. There's 20 other people in the room, and I'm like, what just happened in this room? And I thought, oh, well, Elizabeth, you just went a little bit crazy because you're still detoxing off your medications. And that didn't happen, right? Which is kind of my old conditioning.
Yeah, the mind's tricking you.
Then I felt my pain start to disappear.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, that happened. That's real. And then by the time we were done the process, and the gentleman said, what's everybody's pain level? And everybody's pain level was way down. I was like, okay, what's going on here? And is it
scientists? That would be very.
Yeah, I put my science hat on, and I'm like, okay, is this reproducible? And is it measurable? And does he teach it? And the answer to all of that was yes.
Yeah.
And the man that teaches this, there's only one on the planet that actually teaches this. His name is John Newton, of a place called healthbeyondbelief.com. And it's astonishing. It's astonishing.
And you've how to do that, right? So you take people through that process as well. And what sort of things, what's the biggest things that happens with your clients when you do it? Like, they come to you, obviously they've got pain. Is it just chronic pain that they come to you for? Or is it other patterns and things that are actually evolving within their world that they don't know how to move?
I work with both sets of people. I work with people in chronic pain. I work with people addiction recovery that are in chronic pain and don't want to use medication. And then I work with the general population, anybody that's interested in ancestral clearing that has a pattern that they're like, I'm done with this. I'm like, it's dogging me. I can't I don't know what to do with it. It's, and I help with that. The ancestral clearing helps with that. Yeah. I have a lot. Oh, I'm busy. So I'm giving an example of, we come in with the information, as you said before, we come in with, the gifts and the burdens of our ancestors.
Yeah.
So, and I'll give you an example of how the information can flow, and it's not just in humans, it's actually in mammals, right? And it's even in insects, because monarch butterflies migrate every 5th generation. And how does that information get passed? How do they know how to do that? It's passed through, right? It's passed through. So there's a gentleman that runs a rat lab. He raises baby rats, and he, raised a bunch of baby rats, and they're all playing in the little common room one day. And the man takes a cat hair and he drops it down in the middle of the common room, and all the rats scatter, but they've never met a cat. Right?
Ooh, yeah. So okay.
That's information. That's information that they react to and we do that. Some of us, like, I came in with a spider phobia, but I didn't know anything about being scared of snakes. I thought they were amazing. I had to be taught about that. Right? It's like 25 by the time I learned it. Oh, that's a copperhead.
I'm scared of water, and they have these feelings that there's something really bad about water, and they've drowned in a past life. Yeah.
Or they've lost somebody who drowned, or they tried to save somebody who drowned, or something like that. So we, and we don't know except in the moment. I'd be happy to just take you through a very, like, a 1-minute clearing, so your people can get a sense of it.
That would be fantastic.
Okay. So we we're actually asking the creative energy, the creator energy, source of all it is, to come in on our behalf. And so if everyone listening here could just sit really quietly, relax the breath, and just stay present with me while I go through this, and I'll just keep it to a minute.
You, as long as you want.
Oh, thank you. Infinite creator, all that you are, source of all that is, was, and ever will be. We ask humbly and gratefully that you help everyone listening to this and all of their relationships, all their ancestors and all of their relationships through all relevant time, space, dimension, realms, lifetimes, and incarnations. For all the times they felt let down by life, by family members, by relationships, by anyone representing the creator, for any time they felt let down by the creator in any name or form, for any time they turned their back on the creator or believed the creator turned its back on them. Please help all to forgive each other and forgive themselves. Be at peace with each other and at peace with yourselves. Please and thank you. For all the times you weren't nurtured, loved, supported, and cherished. Please help all of you to forgive each other and forgive yourselves. For the times you didn't nurture, love, and support others in the ways they needed. For any times you were out of integrity with each other, or another out of integrity with you. Please help you all forgive each other, release one another, release yourselves. For the highest good, please and thank you. For all hurts and wrongs, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, sexual, financial, through thought, word, or action. All of you to another and another to all of you. Please help you all forgive each other, help you all forgive yourselves. For the highest good, please and thank you. For any time you withheld love, for any time you were coerced or trapped another, violated their free will, or any time anyone did this to you. Please help all of you forgive each other, forgive yourselves, be at peace with each other and at peace with yourselves. Now and forever, please and thank you. For any time you've believed, felt, or was shown you weren't enough. For the times you tried to earn or learn your way into the value of your family, relationships, or into the grace and love of the Creator. For all that led up to this, please help all of you to forgive each other, forgive yourselves, be at peace with each other and at peace with yourselves. Please and thank you. For all hurts and wrongs, anything we could have inferred had it served the highest good, we infer it now. For all that happened and all you made it mean, for everything that led up to hurts, wrongs, limitations, burden of any kind that's not serving the highest good. We ask all of you, everyone involved, to forgive your parents, grandparents, siblings, children, and grandchildren. Help them all forgive you and help you all forgive yourselves. Please and thank you. Help you forgive your lovers, spouses, lovers, parents, lovers. Help them forgive you and help you all forgive yourselves. Please and thank you. Your whole family and lineage. Help you forgive your cousins, aunts, uncles, step-in-laws, hidden, secret, foster, adopted, and all other significant people, beings, family members, relationships, role models, and authority figures. Help them all forgive you and help you all forgive yourselves. Please and thank you. Infinite Creator, all that you truly are, please and thank you. For the highest good, please lift out all weight, pain, burden, sin, debt, death, negativity, limitations, spells, hexes, curses, white magic, black magic, real or imagined. Lift them into your heavens, transform it into your love, and let your love flow back into them, all of you, giving you complete, total empowerment, integrity, peace, and love. Please and thank you. Please and thank you. Please and thank you. And everybody take a breath in and let it out. And how does that feel in the body?
Feels lighter. I had things going on in my tum-tum. I was like, woo, right near the end. I was like, something's happening there. A little gurgly sound. Yeah, not
you asked about what people feel, and that's what they say. I feel lighter.
lighter.
Yeah. So we come in with this burden, and we've had it the whole time. So we're used to carrying it. You're welcome. Until we don't carry it anymore, and then we're like, oh, I'm lighter.
Yeah. It's amazing what we think we have to carry of other people's as well. You know, especially their emotions and their feelings, and what their reflections, and everything's just a mirror, isn't it? It really, really is.
It is, and we're all connected. So especially we're really all aware of it, especially now with COVID, because there's so much duality in the in the polarity in the collective. There's so much fear in the collective. We're really feeling that now. We're understanding that we are all in the same energy. We're all a piece of consciousness, and
you can feel when something big's happening, that everybody's like, oh, why am I feeling like this? What, I don't understand, because everyone's feeling. I mean, we're all clearing Mother Earth for starters. That's a whole nother thing, I mean, we're all doing that work. And we're also, a lot of us, empaths or whatever, are actually clearing people that are around us and we don't even realize it. And so bits and pieces that we're having, their emotions are coming into us and we're helping clear it. A lot of us don't understand the connection that we do have with somebody else. You're like, well, I don't know that person. How can I be connected with them? But you're right. We're all connected and we're all feeling what everybody else is feeling. So when there's massive fear that gets downloaded into the earth, it's huge. And then you've got the cosmos and everything else is going on. You're like, oh, good grief. Sometimes it's hard.
This is why we need to do grounding practices, like literally taking our shoes off and feet on the ground if it's safe, and hugging trees again if that's safe, because those things, trees are incredible at helping us. They're very good at healing. I don't, it may not be very scientific. It's just I can't like cite a study right now about that, but there's a lot of information about the power of trees. Not only do they help us breathe by producing oxygen for us, so we live at the behest of the trees, but they're very wise, and there's a whole, the real internet is in the soil between the trees.
I did a plant medicine journey with a tree. There's only 4 or 5 of them in the world, and it was called Notarai. And I had to sit in basically like silence and get into boredom, which we're just not used to. We occupy our minds and we keep go. And I would go outside sometimes and I would just stare at the trees, and I swear they spoke to me. Like, oh my goodness. And they spoke to me through my pen. I would just sit there and I would just write. And I wrote this big poem about how we should be more like the trees, how they sway and they don't judge the tree beside them. And it was really cool. I was getting some beautiful things and plants. When I did ayahuasca, that was one of my big things. You are just a speck on this earth. What the Mother Nature and all her beauty is what runs this earth, and you are actually here to look after it. And we're destroying it, and that's a whole nother issue. But absolutely, I 100% agree. The plants are so powerful. They're so powerful. So is the food that we eat. They're a plant. There's just the healing is in medicine is in plants too. It's not just in when you talk about the 80%. Like, did you use food as well for your healing? Did you tune into your body and say, hey, what do you need? Yeah,
absolutely. And I started out as a plant scientist. That's where all my science started, was a plant science. Before I got into plant science, I was in an organic berry farm, a 5-acre organic berry farm back in the 70s, the 1970s, and when organic gardening was really getting started. And I learned from the plants. I learned from the doing. And then when I went to school, I was like, oh, they named all this stuff, but I already understand the systems because the plant taught me. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Love it. Oh, that's awesome. What a great background you have. Like the good grounding and where you were going to go. And they always say that we intuitively go where we need to go to learn what we need to learn, so that we can teach it to others and we can help others heal and all. Oh my goodness, how magical.
That's very true. I was lucky. I will say really quickly, I'd like to just leave the audience with the listeners with this. Opiates, in America now, there's this huge opiate crisis, and a lot of doctors, it's hard to get them, and that's, it is what it is. But I'm just saying, opiates are not helpful unless the nervous system is so in acute pain. I just broke a bone, or I've got a compound fracture, or I've got a kidney stone, or something like that. Opiates. I broke my arm in 7 places, my forearm in 7 places a few years ago, and when I was still clean from all this medication, and I never took an opiate. I just, I used my tools, the tools that I talk about in the book. I used the tools, And the reason is because opiates dehydrate the body. So, you're not getting, you're not getting the water that you need. They paralyze the nervous system, the digestive system, so you can't digest food. They depress the respiratory system, so you're not getting proper oxygenation in the cells. And I'd like to know, how are any of those things healing? So nobody should.
Things we need.
Yeah, we need all those things. And so how are they helping? Now, I can understand taking them for a short period of time. I've had a kidney stone that was 4 millimeters and 4 millimeters. That was big, and that hurt for a couple of hours. For some reason, it changed position, and I was able to handle the pain after that. But they gave me Dilaudid for that, and I was really grateful. Yeah. I only needed 1 dose of it, though.
So a lot of people don't hold those tools, and of course the first thing they do is they go for the outside to fix them instead of going inside to fix themselves. We look externally for the answer, when a lot of it, you said at the start, it's the wisdom, it's the inside is the eternal measure. 100%.
Yeah. The body wants to heal. It wants to heal. We just have to kind of support it every way that we can, and then get out of the way and let it do its miracle, because it's quite miraculous, the things that it does. It's quite, you're an example of that.
Yeah.
Anybody that's healed from panic attacks and being on Valium, which is another benzodiazepine, anybody that's gone through that journey knows exactly what the miraculous power of the body to heal, because that's something to get off that stuff.
Yeah, and it's amazing when you're in it, because I remember when I was in it, I was like, how can somebody who's smart, like intelligent person, a very strong, because I grew up in a very a childhood that I was always in survival, and I was always in my strength. It was just, mum, and it was always a place where I was having to make sure that I was always strong. Mum taught me to be strong, to be strong to survive, sort of thing. So, I remember sitting there one day going, how can I allow this? Because when a panic attack's happening, you're like, oh, here we go. And for some reason I could never stop it, and I was like, I know exactly, and I just boom, and of course I know now, the logic pathways and the subconscious and everything that was happening and the reaction that was in my body and my nervous system. I know all that now, but at the time I was like, how can I not stop this from happening? It's absolutely ridiculous. So when you're in it, you just want something to fix you right then, and we look for those short-term solutions. And that's what you were talking about when you were saying, with the opium, like, don't do something like that long term, which is how I got hooked on my Valium, because it made me okay. I could actually live my life. And so we look for those coping mechanisms that can help us in the now. But when you start to think about it, when you start to unravel and listen to what you've been saying, it's the yoga, it's the tapping in, it's the meditation, it's the EFT, it's the ancestral clearing. It's like having this toolbox that's not tablets. And sometimes you said, you need the tablets. Absolutely. Like there's a doctor is amazing for certain things, but they're not taught to stop or to prevent something. They're there to fix it. Do you know what I mean? So I just love everything that you've brought to this this discussion and chat, and whatever you want to call it that we're having. It's beautiful. Is there any other modalities that you'd like to talk about that were really powerful in you being able to heal yourself?
Sure. I'd like to share with your listeners a very simple tool. It's an old yogi trick. I call it, it's really not a trick, it's a pranayama, a breathing technique. I call it a Jedi mind trick, because it's just, you just cover the right nostril and breathe in the left side. That's all you do when you're having any kind of anxiety or you have insomnia. You just breathe in the left, or you have cravings. You have cravings for something. Just breathe in the left side, in and out, nice, long and deep. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Now, what is that all about? Now you can go 3 to 11 minutes, but at least 3 minutes. When you breathe in the left side of the left nostril, it stimulates the calming center in the brain. Yeah. And what happens when you get anxious, you shorten the breath, and the nervous system, the vagus nerve, is our threat assessment system. It goes into this fight or flight. The nervous system goes into fight or flight, and you get tense and you're ready to, like, freeze or run or fight or whatever. And that left nostril breathing hacks the nervous system and tricks it and says, instead of, because you're getting an I'm not safe signal, I'm not safe, the nervous system. When you do that left nostril breathing, you bring in this, oh yeah, I am, I'm safe. It takes 3 minutes to really get the nervous system to believe the story, but you can hack the nervous system and cut an anxiety attack just with that.
God, I wish I knew that.
I know. I'm like, this is basic stuff.
It's not fair. Why don't they teach you that? Instead, they'd give me 100 Valium and say, see you later.
That's okay. They didn't know. They would have brought it if they knew. They didn't know. That's what.
The one thing I used to do was that I would make sure that my mind was occupied. Like in the end, it was like, okay, so music, I'd start singing or I'd start trying to stop, because you knew it was like, okay, now I smell burnt toast. Now I'm going to start feeling my heart going boom, 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 boom. So that would have been so simple, because a lot of the times it happened when I was driving my car, because I was a sales rep and I was always on the road. And I used to have thoughts about driving off the side of the road. Oh, I can't do this anymore, like basically taking my life sort of thing. So, to be able to stop and just do something for 3 minutes to calm. So that just calms the whole body as well and resets the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I really, everybody should have that in their back pocket, and use it. Pull it out and use it when you need to. It's so simple. You can take it anywhere you go. It's always available.
Because sometimes, like I did the silent tapping, but like I always used to think, when you're tapping, you wouldn't want to do the tapping when you're sitting in public. People are like, what is she doing? So that's something that you can just sort of do, because a lot of the times people do have panic attacks when they're around other people or when they're not feeling that safe. Or, for me, I had to have my back to the door and I had to know where the toilet was, so that if I had to run, and it's just all this mental stuff that goes on. So that is so powerful. So simple and so powerful. God, thank you for that. That's brilliant.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I teach a trauma-informed yoga class every Thursday night online, Central Time, 6 to 7:30 Central Time. And I teach all these different tools in that.
In the details, because I'd love to include that in this, because a lot of people, they're looking for answers outside the normal realm of different ways. And yeah, brilliant. Love it. Love it.
You can just go to my website and find that. I'm just Elizabeth-Kipp.com. You have to put the dash in there because ElizabethKipp.com is a web designer and a photographer. She's awesome, but she's not me. You got to put the dash in there. That's you'll get me. So you can find all that information on my website. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And is there anything that you'd like to leave the listeners with?
Well, I think I'll end you with the 12 steps of wellness. They're very short, but they're very powerful. 1, none of us were born to suffer. 2, we all have the ability to heal. 3, love with all your heart. 4, get real about your healing. 5, commit to your healing. 6, do the work it takes to heal. 7, do the work every day. 8, get real about your healing, in case you didn't hear us the first time. 9, never let anyone or anything get in the way of your healing. 10, love yourself fiercely and without reservation. 11, accept what is. And 12, be grateful for all that comes your way, and more will be revealed.
Yes, I love those. They're awesome. I like that. In case you didn't hear. You know what, doing our healing journey, I know for me it was the most scary and hardest thing to do. It's just taking those steps in front of each other, one step and one step and one step. Yeah, it's people think that it's, oh God, if I go into that, I'm going to be like a withering mess, and yeah, sure, but what's on the other side of it is just.
That's also the mind. It's going to come in and give an argument. That's the mind on chronic pain, right? That's the brain on chronic pain. Oh, don't do this. It's going to end up, in a catastrophe. That's the
greatest journey on earth. That's what we're here to do. We're here to heal. If we don't, you're just going to take it into the next lifetime.
They say. That's what they say.
I don't think I'm coming back. I want to sit up there with my light body. Thank you very much. Just be happy. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Elizabeth. It was an absolute joy. You're a honey, and thank you for sharing all those beautiful things that you've shared, and the tools and the little tricks and, all that sort of thing. And I know that people will be able to reach out to you 100% if they've got anything with chronic. And grab her book. Can you put your book up again?
Oh, yes. The Way Through Chronic Pain, Tools to Reclaim Your Healing Power. Yep.
Beautiful. There'll be lots of little things that you can use in your toolbox. And that's all you need. You just need a good little toolbox to get you through. Really do, to help to move you where you need to go. So thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure. And
well, thank you so much, Lisa. It was a wonderful conversation. I'm so glad to meet you, and I'm so grateful for a chance to sit in front of your listeners and share your audience, your podcast with my audience. I'm excited about that.
Yes, exciting. Well, thank you, guys. That was another episode of The Art of Quantum Healing, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel and help us grow the community by sharing it with your friends. I am your host, Lisa Nadler, and this is The Art of Quantum Healing.